Yo, 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 what's going on with y'all? You know what I'm saying? It's your boy Convo with Marlo. Today I got a special guest with me here today. Who do I have the pleasure of being here with?
Alex Escondarka, podcaster, filmmaker, storyteller. I kind of like to do a little bit of everything.
This guy does everything.
A little bit of everything,
A
not
little bit of
everything.
everything. You can dive like you're dipping your toes into this and that,
Absolutely.
trying to like add up your streams of income type shit. I like that. You know what I'm saying? But obviously before I get into all that, we're gonna start off with the small stuff. How you feeling? What's going on?
I'm doing all right, man. I've been it's been like a crazy last 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of volatility, turmoil. Um, but like we just keep your head down, work. We just finished this film.
Yeah.
That you pop by on set for a bit. We've taken like a little bit of a hiatus with the GiftedGab just to restructure and for us it's like been 3 years.
Yeah.
We're pumping out episodes and content and stuff, but sometimes you gotta slow down and recalibrate and go in some new directions sometimes because plans change, goals change, and sometimes if you're not constantly revisiting and seeing what's the progress, reflecting on that, you could easily go nowhere fast. So I'm always keeping myself busy, obviously with the businesses and stuff like that, but my heart is really in like creating. So I just try to create as much as I can, and like what I feel sits close to me, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's just been my motto. It's worked for me,
Yeah.
the last few years, and I just keep one foot in front of the other and just try to make things happen.
Yeah, no, I like that. Especially with the show that you said you just finished up. I wasn't obviously I wasn't there for that long that night I went because I'm pretty sure I had work the next morning or like a few hours later. But it's like the setup, the group of people you had around, and because as soon as I pulled up, I'm pretty sure y'all was just setting up, so nothing was really like built up yet. I'm like, damn, like it felt serious. Like the whole scenery, the environment felt serious. So how did the making of all that feel now that it's all done? I'm assuming you've watched it multiple times. You've rewatched it to make sure there's no like bloopers, no like mini minor mistakes here and there.
Yeah, I mean, you watch. I'm sure when you're creating something, you have a different set of eyes when you're watching it over and over and over again. And so now to kind of have it complete, like this is my first like large production. I've worked in front of the camera as an actor. I've worked in front of the camera as a model, obviously as a podcaster in front and behind the camera. And so I felt ready to take something a little bigger on. I always like a challenge. And so it was serious. There was a lot of people involved. I think maybe altogether the crew maybe it was 20 plus people easily. Not on set at once. There's some people behind the scenes, a bunch of people on set and stuff like that. And this project took 2.5 years.
Damn.
Yeah, it took a while.
Is that how long do projects usually take that long, or is it like was there weather, miscommunication? Like what was it that made it take the 2 years?
It's just the planning. I think when I first started it, I didn't know where it was gonna go. I just kind of had like a picture in my head of what I wanted to do, and you're like, okay, what's it gonna cost? I was ready to shoot it for like 20K if I could. I would have shot it for 10K or 5K if I could.
Yeah.
But I understood there was an infrastructure to help with these kind of projects, and there's money to get these projects off the ground. So 20K became 30K, 30K became 60K, 60K became 100K. I won't say the final budget, but when you start, when you're paying people and you're hiring people to do certain tasks, it kind of allows you to focus on the creative. For this I directed this, but I also produced it and wrote it, so I'm still wearing a lot of hats, right? But it also gave me just the chance to see how every facet of it is done, and then it gives me the confidence to go in and do another one. So it seems large, but I think, you know, art is collaborative in nature.
Oh yeah.
I think when you think about music and films and everything, you're always just trying to work with other creators, you know. Like me and Andre, when we started the Gifted Gab, you know, that's a collaborative effort. You know, there's multiple people involved in that, and I think when people come together to create stuff, beautiful things can
Oh
happen,
yeah.
right?
Bouncing
Yeah.
ideas off one another and stuff.
Yeah, I feed off that. I love being around other creators. I love seeing guys that are, you know, taking a risk and betting on themselves and trying to make things happen. Like I like that is the most inspirational shit to me. And I grew up in Toronto, so I was fortunate enough to see a lot of guys betting on themselves, whether it's in music, hoops, whatever it is, and it makes you want to do cool stuff too, you know. And yeah, so you know, one thing became another, and you know, now we're done 2.5 years later. Coaching While Black is the name of the film.
Yeah.
I won't talk too much about it. Like there'll be, you know, trailers and all that stuff that have come out, and by the time this comes out, hopefully we'll find out if, you know, festivals have picked it up and things of that nature. But you know, I'm already thinking about the next project and all that
Already on the
stuff.
next one.
Yeah, you know,
Have y'all gotten a chance to start it yet, or is it just in the midst, like just a conversation right now?
it's just like planning and preparation. When you asked, you know, why it took 2.5 years, you know, shooting a project doesn't take that long. Shooting is only like maybe 20 days.
Yeah.
For even like a 2-hour film, it's like 20-30 days. But the rest of it is like the planning. You know, you want to make sure you know what you're shooting so that you're making like best use of your time. Like this is what I've learned. This is my first film, and you know, when I started, like when I do things, I entrench myself in them. You know, if I'm building a business, I'm gonna read up on business. I'm gonna study case studies. I'm gonna learn how to read a balance sheet. I'm gonna learn how to do everything from the business sense, so that even if I'm talking to someone that's maybe I'm talking to a marketer, right? Like it's two separate fields,
Yeah.
but at least I understand what this guy is telling me when I'm talking to him about it, right? So same thing with film. Even though I'm like directing and writing it and producing it, I'm trying to learn all the other facets as well. And so I think that's a gift that I've always had, is just like being able to hone in on whatever needs to be done at the moment and entrench yourself. And yeah, there's distractions, and maybe it didn't have to take 2.5 years, but I took my time with it.
Yeah.
And there was mistakes that I made, some things, there's corrections I made, you know. But I really said like, yo, this is the first one,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna allow myself to kind of make those mistakes and learn from them so that the next one could be better.
Oh no, I feel that. So when you was talking about the budgeting, if you could get into it, how much did you fully put into it?
I didn't put a penny into it.
Or it wasn't you? Oh, it was
Like, it's grants. Like people don't know. Like there's one thing people don't understand is that if you can articulate your vision and articulate how you're going to execute something,
yeah.
there are people that'll give you money to do things. If you're good at it, you're selling the vision. You know what I'm saying? And life is sales. Doesn't matter if you're going to a job interview, you're trying to sell yourself to the company on why they should hire you.
Yeah.
Right? You are trying to talk to a female, get her to, you know, go out to dinner with you. You gotta sell yourself. You gotta show them why you're the real deal. So it's the same thing with like these kind of projects, right? It's like, why should you get this initiative and this funding to do this thing? So a lot of the budgeting or a lot of the project financing was me articulating the execution and the vision and proving that I know what I'm doing, right? And if you can prove that and show that, and your vision is competitive and creative enough, and there's some artistic merit to it, there are a lot of initiatives out there, especially for Black creators, where you can get your foot in the door and take a chance on yourself to create something that's bigger than just you, you know. And that's the thing about this project is bigger than me. It's not about me. It's in a lot of ways it's my story, but it's a documentary about a genius basketball coach, you know what I'm saying, who was able to bring a group of guys together and achieve a common goal. And at the time that he did it, he wasn't appreciated for it, you know. He was blackballed for it, you know. And the story speaks for itself. But being able to articulate what you're trying to do and why society needs it is a skill. I think that most people, it's sales at the end of the day. It's like if I'm selling you a product, I'm selling me on why to do this podcast, or why someone should listen to this podcast. Like, you got to get used to that, because nobody's going to give us anything, but you got to go out there and take a chance on yourself and put yourself out there and put your ideas out there. And there's some people that rock with them, there's some people that don't, but that's art, right?
Yeah. See, I like hearing these type of things, because to me at least it really makes it seem like those type of things are really possible. Because for the time being, well, a little bit before I started talking to you, I've had thoughts about here and there, like, yo, I'd be so down to make like a 20-minute film, but it's like, who would I contact? Who would I talk to? How much is it? Because in my head, I thought 4 or 5K, maybe even 10K, I'm good. But it's like 4 or 5, like 10K, that's probably enough just to get people to pull up. But God knows how much more that goes into it. So hearing those type of things, like, wow, it's way more complicated than what it seems like. Because obviously there's a lot of people that make the most difficult things look extremely easy. So hearing you speak on all this, I'm like, damn, is this something I want to do still?
But it could be simple. Like, you could go out and shoot it for 5K. You know, I don't think that you can't, right? But I think that like, money is a tool.
Yeah.
Right? And people, like, when they think about money, they want to hoard it and keep it for themselves. Well, no, like, money is supposed to be used to do things. Money is supposed to be used to create things, you know? So if you think about your dollar being able to help you edit a film, a dollar being able to help you with some muscle on set to move some stuff around, a dollar to help if you're not a strong writer, getting someone to write for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you start thinking about money like that, then you know, these projects become much more easier and feasible. And that's why they say, you know, money makes the world go round, because money makes these things easier, right? It's when people get greedy and want to put the money in their pocket and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? But in terms of, you know, wanting to shoot a 20-minute film for 5K, I think you can do it. But I think that there's a lot of stuff you'd actually have to take on yourself, which is not a problem. If you have the time to do it, then do it, you know? The thing about me is I don't have time to do everything. So then it's like I have to think about, how can I make my job easier? And some people will say, well, why would you pay someone to do it when you could do it yourself?
Exactly.
But it's either you have the time to do it, or the money. It's one or the other. You can have both, but when you're trying to get things done and you're trying to be efficient, you gotta, you know, that's where budgeting comes in. That's where, you know, these kind of skills come into play, and project management, right? These are skills I learned working at various jobs, going to school, you know, learning goal setting, learning how to put together a budget, learning how to schedule things, like very basic skills for a business owner or a manager. But when you start to think, okay, well, these hard skills, or maybe they're not hard skills, they're soft skills, but these soft skills are universal, and you can use them in any instance, whether you want to do podcasts, whether you want to opening a marketing agency. You know, there's levels to this, and it's the same fundamentals, they just are applied in different places. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it changes that much.
Okay, now I feel that. Going into 2023, the new year, we're like the 30th day, the 27th day into it. We're almost into February. How's the new year been treating you so far?
It's been good. For me, I was super excited coming into this year, and for me, my new year started in December. You know, I was starting to think about, okay, what did we want to accomplish in 2023, and start to get the ball rolling, like, in the beginning of December for whatever we wanted to do in 2023. So that when January came around, you're not trying to implement new things. You're at the point where, like, your systems are a go, and you're just continuing to move forward. So 2023 so far has been good. The last 6 months of my life, obviously with, like, the accident and stuff like that, have been crazy, have tested me, but it's also had me, like, come to a complete stop and slow down, because I had a lot of things going on, and it forced me to kind of think about, okay, what direction are we taking these things in? Where do we need to be more efficient? You know, it really, you know, not being able to walk for 6 weeks really made me realize that a lot of the money that I was making was based on me having to be places, right? And me having to show up to work. So that was a reality check because my money's just stopped coming. So I had to think, okay, well, damn, we got to rethink this approach now because I don't want to be in this position again where like if I can't get out of bed, I can't survive, you know? So January has been, very introspective. It's been really just continuing the seeds that we planted in 2021 and 2022 and capitalizing on them. Like this project that we just finished, I started working on that in 2020.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So to have it finally complete, it's like, okay, now I know I can do it. So now it's like, okay, let's do another one. Let's do another one. Let's do another one. Let's do another one. It's the same thing with the podcast. You do one podcast, and then you want to just keep doing the next one, the next one, the next one, because you get that workflow, right? Yeah. So a lot of January has just been like keeping the ball rolling and keeping the momentum going.
So I'm assuming that's what the rest of the year is gonna be, keeping that ball rolling, getting more ideas to just, give the people what they want, or like make what you want and see how the people will later on feel about it.
Yeah, I've always just wanted to. Man, I just like creating. I don't care if it's conversation. I don't care if it's a film. I don't care if it's something small, big. There's a euphoria that I get from just making stuff. I like enjoy the process of like, how am I going to get this done? What needs to happen? What is scheduling? Where is money coming from? There's like, I think the chase is everything.
Yeah.
The process is everything. And I fell in love with the process. I don't get too down on myself if like one day, if one day I don't work on something at all, I try to figure out other ways to contribute to those processes. You know what I mean? Like keeping the mind sharp, reading, knowing what's going on in your field, keeping up with other forms of content. So it's always just like, yeah, like you said, like just trying to make the ideas come to fruition, right?
I like the chase thing that you brought up. But it's weird. I'm one of those, I don't know if you're the same, you know what I'm saying, but I'm one of those guys where I love the chase, but obviously depending on what it is, I love the chase, but once I get it, it's like, damn. I'm more in love with hustling for it, trying to get it, than being satisfied and actually having it. So that's how I feel with this podcast in regards to this podcasting thing, because it's like, obviously when you're doing stuff like this, the plan is to be at the top, to be world known, to be known, maybe get sponsorship. But it's like, once I reach that level, am I going to be satisfied? Am I going to wish I have that chase again? That chase to want to, like, who knows where all that would fall off to. So do you feel like, have you ever fell into that type of realm?
I think that what's important for me, it's goal setting. And the goals have to be concrete. But they shouldn't be like, I don't believe in chasing after dollar signs or views or clicks, anything like that. I think it's more so chasing the completion of projects, because everything comes down to what have you done, right? So everything for me is like, okay, make this film by this time. Make this many episodes by this time. So that's what a lot of my goals look like. It's like X amount of episodes, X amount of this, X amount of things that I can control, I can't control how much money I make. I can actually, but I control that by output, right? The input comes from output. You control what you get by what you put out, right? So what you're saying about, getting to that top and then not wanting it anymore, you just come with new goals.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, if your goal is to score X amount of points, and when you do that, what's the next, the game within the game, what's the next goal? And I think that's how you stay sharp, right? And that's how you stay hungry. If your goals are leading to a bigger picture, which is how, I can't speak for everyone, but that's how I set them. It's like, here's a big picture. This is the kind of film I want to make. This is the kind of project I want to do. And you reverse engineer it. Okay, what do I need to do in order to be able to create something of that magnitude?
Yeah.
Okay, what kind of reps do I need across other platforms? You know what I'm saying? When I started the podcast, my idea was, and it still is, to create a sitcom, a comedy sitcom
Yeah.
based on the podcast. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So then it becomes, then you reverse engineer that. So then it's like, yeah, there's the podcast, but then there's some other things you got to do too. And then subconsciously you start finding yourself interested in things that cater to those goals without even knowing it. You know, like you'll consciously set the goal, but then you'll subconsciously find yourself chasing after things that relate to that goal. And I think a lot of it is like, a lot of it is subconscious. It's like once you make that choice, once you make that decision that that's what you want to do, then you start to reverse engineer things, and some of those things start to fall into place. Like the universe will conspire in your favor if you if you make those conscious decisions with intention, with intent, you know. And your voice and your words are so powerful, right? Like people don't understand, like just those little things hold weight. Yeah.
With the feeling of completion type of thing, the nice thing about this podcasting thing that we do, like that you and I both do, like interviewing people, for I feel like, well, there are times where I feel like for as long as the world is making people, you'll never run out of people to talk to.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So even when you look at Joe Rogan, this guy has a new guy every day, a guy you never seen a day in your life, but just done something crazy. So I guess that's one way to look at it. Sometimes I be having those off days where it's like, oh, okay, once I get to this level, what is there to do? But you're right. Once I actually get there, it's just new goals. I set new goals. I go for them. But now because those were like near futures, like something I could probably hit by May. But now I'm trying to set long term, like something next May, 2024 May. You know, so now I feel you on that, and I'm liking the way you're wording it, because that's literally exactly how it is.
Yeah, I think the key is like a vision board.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like a vision board is like, I've had the same vision board since 2019, and I've never touched it. I've maybe added to it, but I've never erased anything. And it sits in my room, in my office, like right above my desk. And I maybe look at it once a day, but I don't consciously look at it. But like subconsciously, I put that board together. So I know, like, in the back of my mind why I'm doing what I'm doing. And, you know, that way when you carve that out, you don't entertain, like, nonsense. Because you know exactly what you want. You know exactly how what you got to do to get there. And even if you don't, you'll figure it out along the way. You know, a lot of success. I'm not successful yet, in no means. Actually, I would say I am successful because I do the things I want to do.
Oh yeah.
And I I'm happy with where I'm at. I'm not satisfied, but I'm happy and I'm at peace with where I'm at.
The reason, my fault to interrupt, the reason why I say you're at least doing better than most, I don't know if you want me to get into this, but you told me you haven't worked in a while.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Obviously, there's way more to it than just that, but for someone that, like, you're the first person I've had to tell me that like, I've been somewhat satisfied, like, I've been doing this, doing that. Like, I've been working on my own time type of thing. So for someone to come up to me and say that, I'm like, bro, you're winning. Because I'm working on the white man schedule. If this guy tells me to be at work at 8, I'm up at 7:30 and making sure my ass is there by 8. So for you to be able to say that, you're low-key winning.
Yeah, high key, man. Like, I think,
there.
you know, I understood that concept about your time, like, maybe when I first graduated from university. And I had a hard time growing up. I had a hard time with authority. I had a hard time thinking that I have to do this way to make money this way. It didn't make sense to me. You know, my pops is an entrepreneur. My grandpa was an entrepreneur, and they worked on their own time, you know. But then I also seen the contrary of, like, you know, I worked many jobs growing up. You know, I hustled. I had to get it how you live, you know. So the concept of, like, being on another man's time just did not make sense to me.
Yeah, I hate it, bro. You can say that shit again. I hate it.
It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. And I'm not knocking it. Like, if it's some people, like, that's fine. Like, to each their own. For me personally, it just doesn't make sense to me.
At all.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm like, there has to be another way. There has to be another way. And so if you're searching for that, when you're actually searching for your purpose, people are like, oh, you got to figure out what you want right away. But a lot of figuring out what you want is figuring out what you don't want. Right? Because if you're like, I want to work with kids the rest of my life. Cool. Then work for kids under the white man. But then they're like, oh, no, I don't like this. You know, I don't like being on another man's schedule. Right? There's contradictions that, right? So then a lot of it is just like, okay, well, I don't want to work on somebody else's time. I don't want to work in a cold place. I don't want to work here. I don't want to work there. And then you figure out what you want by figuring out what you don't want. That's important, right? It's not about knowing what you want right away. And that's why, like, I'm 29. I'm going to be 30 this year.
Damn.
Yeah, you know, but I've lived and I've done so many things. I've lived like maybe 3 lifetimes. I hooped. I lived in the big city. I hustled. I did all that stuff. I worked all the jobs. I got a college degree. Like, there's a lot of things I've done. And through that, I realized, okay, here are all the things I don't want to do. And I can tell you a list of a bunch of stuff that I don't want to do. And because I know what I don't want to do, it makes what I want to do crystal clear. You know what I'm saying? And so people are always focused on, figure out what you want to do, figure out what you want to do. Bro, figure out what you don't want to do. Work that shitty job. Go to that place. Go to school. Go to this place. Do all the things so you realize, like, yo, these are the things I absolutely, positively do not want. Because once you've experienced it, you'll know that you don't want it. And some people don't have the choice, which is a totally different conversation. But you still, like, there's, non-negotiables. There's some things that you're like, absolutely, positively, I will not do. And once you build that list, then what you want to do becomes clearer. I didn't know that I wanted to make content 5 years ago. I did not know that. I didn't know that 10 years ago, I would even have a college degree or run a business. I did not know any of this stuff. I only learned this stuff by working jobs that I hated. You know what I'm saying? I only learned this stuff by, waking up at 6 a.m. to go work for somebody else, or working night shifts to work for somebody else, or going to school. I went to 3 different schools postgraduate, graduate, post-secondary. So I went to one program. I'm like, I don't like this program. And I switched into something I liked. You know what I'm saying? And you learn. That's how you learn. That's how life works. That you experience things, and then you're like, oh, now I know it. You might not know what you want until you're 30, 35, 40, 45. That's fine. As long as you experience it and allow yourself to come to the conclusion that this is not what I'm fucking with. I want to do this over here. Yeah. And that's life. But like, too many times we get in our own way. We won't allow ourselves to experience new things or experience new perspectives. And that's why traveling is so important. Yep. If you travel and you see the way other people live, you'll be like, man, there's no way I can allow myself to live like X, Y, and Z when I'm seeing A, B, C over here. So I got to take, And
we're talking about like the real type of travel, not E-Town to Vancouver.
No, that's not travel.
Toronto, maybe like overseas type shit. Like, see how like people that are there living, grew up different lifestyle, raised under different conditions. Those are the type of people.
That's travel, yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so, and then your vision will become crystal clear off of those experiences. Off experiences. Like, it's like a video game.
So now let's get into what I know you for. You know what I'm saying? GiftedGab. What is GiftedGab?
Yeah, the GiftedGab is a platform that me and Andre Kelly created in 2019. And it was really just about carving out a space for our own stories, our own conversations, our own thought leadership, right? But also highlighting others who think just like us. You know what I'm saying? And so what we would do is a lot of this, going back and forth, chopping it up, and trying to understand like how individuals got to where they are doing what they do. It doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur, an artist, a comedian, an advocate. It doesn't matter what you do. Like, we have a mic for you at the GiftedGab, and we have a platform for you at the GiftedGab to tell your story, to tell, and you never know. Like someone might listen to you and become inspired by that, you know. But when me and Andre started that out, we weren't only thinking podcast. We were thinking brand, right? And so we, once again, we experimented a lot under that brand umbrella. You know, we did comics, we do merch, we do different campaigns, you know, the podcast, we do skits. We explore creativity across multiple mediums, right? But it always comes down to the conversation.
Yeah.
It comes down to the dialogue. It comes down to being able to spark that inspiration through these kind of interactions through creating.
Exactly.
So when me and Andre first started it, we actually started in Edmonton, even though we're both from out east. He's from Saga, I'm from Toronto originally. But you know, I relocated here after school and stuff, and you know.
I'm not gonna lie. I always thought Mississauga and Toronto was the same place, like in the same area. I'm gonna keep it 100.
It's they're two separate cities, but they're in very close proximity to each other. It's like Vancouver. It's like there's Burnaby, right?
Yeah.
But then there's, you know, Port Moody, right? They're different municipalities, but they're part of Metro Vancouver.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if it's called Metro Vancouver. I don't know what it's called, the Greater Vancouver area.
I know what you mean.
Where, you know, so for Toronto, it's like Toronto is the city. Mississauga is part of the Greater Toronto area, the GTA.
Yeah.
Brampton's part of the GTA. Markham, all these cities around Toronto, which are accessible. Like if I wanted to go to Mississauga, it's a bus ride away.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like, it's not that far, but there's a difference. But now, like as the city has expanded, the borders have become blurred. So I see how people are like, oh yeah, Toronto, Mississauga. It depends who you ask, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because to me, bro, Toronto, Orangeville, Mississauga, bro, that's all Toronto to me.
Yeah,
Shit.
absolutely.
Especially from someone, I think I've only been there twice in my life. The second time I went with my girl, we was on the 416, whatever that highway is called.
401.
401. Yo, that highway is not a joke. It's like if you got somewhere to be, cancel your plans.
Oh yeah.
You're not getting anywhere. The highway's like 100 kilometers. I think I was going 30, 40.
Yeah.
And there's a few type dudes that just, they don't signal, they don't nothing. They just swerve onto the lane.
Driving is
like
dangerous.
you live more than once.
Driving is dangerous in
Yeah,
Toronto.
no, it's different over there.
It's different. It's that's why I kind of laugh when I see people complain about traffic out here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you have no idea what traffic is. You like, I used to. I lived in East York, which is like kind of pretty close to downtown in Toronto.
Yeah.
And I used to go to my college campus was in Scarborough, and it would take me the train an hour and 40 minutes to get to campus. I didn't drive. If I drove, I was driving my mom's car.
Yeah.
You know, and that took me so many, like 4 hours of my day were just spent commuting.
That's crazy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's normal in Toronto.
See, that's why I say if you have plans, cancel them.
I was late for every
anywhere.
class. I was late for everything.
You're not going anywhere. When it comes to Gifted Gab, would you say it's bigger out here in E-Town or out east?
I don't know, because our listenership is pretty evenly split. Like we have people in Edmonton and we have people in Toronto. We have people in Calgary. We have some people like in the US and Europe. So it gets out there. I don't know how. I don't know if it's because of the other work that me and Andre do. Like we are involved in many other stuff too. And some of those listeners come to the Gifted Gab too. But I think it's pretty evenly split because, you know, when we started, we both lived here, but our roots were back out east, you know? And that's why when we did it, we never thought about Edmonton.
Yeah.
Like we didn't think, oh, we want to be big in Edmonton. We're like, we want people across the country to know this, to know this, you know? And so people have walked up to me in the street and said, yo, like Gifted Gab, sometimes here, sometimes in Calgary, sometimes in Toronto, you know? There's been times I've been in, back when Clubhouse was popping over the pandemic.
Yeah.
And someone in the thing would be like from Los Angeles and be like, yo, I love your podcast. Like random, you know?
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool to see that, you know, your content could reach that far, right? You know, this year has been more about, like I was saying, redirecting, restructuring, rebranding, because we're constantly evolving. When me and Andre first started, we just wanted to create something. We didn't know how and how we were going to do it. We thought a podcast was the way.
Yeah.
Since then, I've gotten into filmmaking. He's gotten into acting. You know what I'm saying?
No
And
way.
those are things that when we started, we didn't know that we were going to get into them.
Is he acting in your film? Like, is he in the Coaching While Black?
He's in he does a monologue for us at the beginning.
Oh, okay.
So and that's another thing. It's like when you're because we're collaborative in nature, you know, and we are pretty much operating in the same arena, and it's someone you've worked with. You know, my first inclination is like, hey, like I need a monologue done. Like, get in the booth. You know, I'll pay for it. You know, like the collaboration becomes easy.
Yeah.
Because you're like, you know what you want. You know, you have people that want to improve their resume and be involved in things. So it becomes like scratch my back, I scratch yours type of thing. And, you know, Andre has gone out and filmed and shot and produced his own stuff. In the same way, I'm doing the same thing. So then you just get into the habit of habitually creating. It doesn't matter if it's GiftedGab. It doesn't matter if it's my production company. Like, you just want to be involved in the process of creating. And when you're around people that want to create, it's the best feeling in the world. Yeah. Because you're around like-minded individuals. They understand what you're trying to do. You understand what they're trying to do. And you're not talking about nonsense. You're not talking about, like, I love basketball. Yeah. Basketball was everything for me growing up. Now I don't care about basketball. I don't care to talk about basketball. I keep up with it. Yeah. But
not as serious.
Not as serious, and you're not going to see me tuning into the games, and because it doesn't bring anything for me anymore. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But you get me in a room with a bunch of guys that create stuff, and ideas are being passed around. You know, problems and solutions are being passed around. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's the energy I feel like, you know, you as a creator now, yourself, same. You want to be chasing those conversations.
Yes, sir.
You know.
Okay. When it comes to GiftedGab, I noticed that. Well, I feel I mean I could be wrong. Obviously, correct me. But is the main focus with African Americans? You know what I'm saying? Because especially when y'all got on, was it CTV?
City TV.
Yeah. When I remember the lady was saying around. It wasn't these words exactly, but it was like to help African Americans, like to at least speak to them. So is the main focus talking to black people or?
No, the GiftedGabs for everybody. I think if you look at you know, our episodes and our guests, you'll see like we talk to everybody. Yeah. You know, because the black experience is one experience that me and Andre obviously are familiar with. Mm-hmm. But I think our biggest strength is that we're able to sit across and talk to anybody. Yeah. And that's what we bring to the GiftedGab. Obviously there's more black creators than not in our programming. Mm-hmm. But we're open to everybody, and if you have a story to tell, like we got a mic for you, like I said. Like, so it's not black creators. I think I don't know. I don't know. I just think that, well, I'm happy. I'm not happy. I'm Iranian. You know, my dad is white passing, you know. So for me to only think about, you know, one part of my identity, that completely leaves out a whole bunch of individuals that might have stories and knowledge that they can kick, and a whole culture and stuff like that. So when I'm talking to people and bringing people on the podcast, I'm not really looking at race and where they come from. I'm thinking about what is their story, right?
No, I like that. Is there or not? Is there? How did the whole news thing happen? How did y'all manage to get that far?
Man, I think that might be the second time we were on the news.
Oh, second time.
Yeah, but honestly, man, we just kind of chip away at it. Like, and then some people were like, "Yo, I'd like to feature you." You know, our guest that day is actually the reporter. Wow. That episode hasn't dropped yet, but it will by the time this drops. Yeah. And she's like, "I've been wanting to do a piece on you guys for a while, so let's do it." You know, but I think when you work, when you're working, people notice, and if they appreciate what you're contributing. And everybody has something to contribute. Exactly. Right? And it's about stepping into your greatness and just trying to put that out there for people. people notice, whether you have one viewer or one listener or 10 or 100 or 100,000. I think people get too fixated on the numbers because all it takes to change your life is the right person to see it.
Yep.
Right?
Real shit.
Is the right person sees that piece of content that you put out, and they will come to you and bring something that will be life-changing for you, you know? So I think, like, that's why when me and Andre did this, we don't care about the numbers. We care about those right people seeing it that can help us achieve the other goals, you know? So that's kind of how all that happens. We just chip away at it and scratch off the goals on the list and take it from there.
A lot of people, like, you might have difficulty answering this, but let's see how it goes. Out of all the guests you've had on, who would you say was, like, your most interesting?
My most interesting
Interesting. From the moment he or she sat down, it's just been spitting shit like, yo, like, you just didn't even blink because you feel like you would miss something, you know?
That's a good question. The most interesting guests we've had. Because we've had over 100 now.
Sheesh. I know I'd be like, oh, man, you got to give me a second, you know?
The most interesting. I'd have to go probably with Jesse Lipscomb. He's an actor. He's from Edmonton. He's an actor, advocate. He does many things. He's multifaceted.
And what made him so interesting?
How he saw creating. How he saw the process of, like, doing. He's a doer. And I think I consider myself a doer too. And seeing him talk about his approach and his experience as an actor and his experiences as a black man and creating and getting into the habit of just saying, I'm going to just do this, was very inspiring. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes we get so caught up in, like, the planning and trying to have it perfect that we kind of forget to do. And I think a lot of things is more do and then figure it out later. That's at least for me. And so, after having him on the podcast, really changed my outlook. Like, he was a lot of the reasons that, I was, like, inspired me to kind of go through with the film and push through with it because of a lot of the things he was talking about and he instilled just in that conversation. So that was very inspiring, and I didn't want to miss a word of what he was saying. Another interesting person we've had is like Nima Naz, like his process too. Same thing. He's a doer. Yeah.
Is he an actor too?
He's a comedian.
Okay,
yeah. Okay. So seeing these guys that do what they do at a high level, and seeing how simple it is. Because it's really just doing, like, everything you're doing right now is how you become successful at something. Yeah. It's the reps, It's just getting those reps. And so when you start to converse with people like that, and that's what is the beautiful thing about podcasting, is that the whole point of it is that you should be learning something when you're doing it. If you're not learning anything when you're sitting across from your guest, that's not a good episode. Yep. So if you're learning from that person, then your listeners are learning. And that's always what me and Andre were saying. It's like, when we bring somebody on, we got to make sure we're learning from them. Yeah. Right? And, that's what we try to do, whether it's through their stories, through their struggles, through their expertise. You're learning constantly. So that's a guy. Jesse, Nima, Amal was an amazing episode. There's so many. Everybody's episode was amazing in their own way. And there's always, like, something unique you can pull from every episode. But also at the same time, for us, it's like, if you're someone that's niche and you're looking for a certain conversation, you can find that on our podcast too, if there's something really particular that you're looking for, right?
I like that. Sheesh. So you said you had over 100 guests on. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Now, after saying that, do you have a least favorite?
Not off the top of my head. If I do have a least favorite, it didn't make it.
Oh, okay.
Because
you don't even waste your time with that. Like, they don't even.
Yeah, like,
when you say they don't make it, you don't drop the episode.
Yeah, I won't drop the episode. I won't drop the episode. Because at the end of the day, it's like your name is on something, and I don't know if I can't think off the top of my head of ones that haven't dropped, but there's been a lot of episodes that we never dropped.
Yeah.
And but there's also some episodes that are in the chamber that are coming. So if yours hasn't dropped yet, I don't want you, but it's always about like, and you can tell in the middle of an episode if
it's worth dropping,
if it's gonna be good or not, right?
Yo, I could tell within the first 5 minutes if this episode's like, you know what, I don't think I'm gonna even send this to the editor because I don't want to waste the money.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you'll know. You just have a gut feeling because you know what you're looking for. You know exactly what makes good content, and you shouldn't compromise. And there's been times that like we thought an episode would do really well and it didn't do well.
Yeah.
Right. And there's times you think an episode won't do well and it does really well. Like you never really know. The market decides, right?
Yeah.
So we just try to keep our head down and keep going. But yeah, like more times if an episode wasn't good, it won't make it. Like I think right now we have like probably 8 episodes just we're sitting on. We're just waiting, right?
Bro, let me tell you, I had a guest come on. He was an artist, you know what I'm saying. And when he came on, when he was walking into the basement, the guy's all hyped up. But I guess when the lights came on, the cameras, this and that, he kind of like forgot how to speak English.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to warm him, like, yo, we're good, don't worry about it. This is when I knew this episode was going left, and it was me that was gonna have to hold the conversation. I cannot lie to you. I said this. I said at the very beginning, or like the first 5 questions in, I said to him, like, where are you from? This guy said, why? What do you mean why? But he's one of those guys where ops. Yeah. You know that type of mindset.
Yeah.
He's like, when he, so I'm like, where are you from? The guy looked me dead in my eyes and said, why? I'm like, this is a podcast. So what do you mean?
Why are you here?
Like you're not even in that area that you're from. Like you're in Canada, bro. This guy was from somewhere in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, on camera, I obviously never dropped it, but on camera, this guy's like, yo, fam, I don't know who you're with or who you're working with, but don't ask me shit like that, bro. I'm like, you know what? You interview me then, bro, because I don't know what the hell, because these type of things I ask you is you letting me know who you are, where you're from, what you do. Obviously, I'm not asking you for your address or your SIN number. Just asking, basically to add on to what you said, like, you could tell really quick.
You'll know.
If it's going to be good or bad.
You'll know.
And it sucks because your time's already wasted by the time you find out it's bad.
Yeah, that's the worst part. Setting up and stuff.
Sometimes you can't just, depending who you are, you can't just stop mid-episode and be like, bro, get out.
Yeah, you can't.
Sometimes you just finish it and it is what it is at that point.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I think that's why you got to know. I think it's really important to build rapport with who you're going to bring on to your podcast or your platform because they represent your program, right?
Exactly.
So I'm glad you actually touched on that because there's been times where like you're just like it's like pulling teeth with some people and it's like questions and
my nigga, even pulling teeth would be easier with some of these, like that guy that I had. You know what I'm saying? It's just annoying, but at the same time, when you're doing shit like this, you're gonna run in. Not everybody's gonna be talking a lot or willing to talk a lot, and it just makes me think like, what if you get on the Breakfast Club? What are you gonna say? Because everything's live. They don't cut anything out. They're gonna drop it. Like, you're making a fool of yourself.
And that's why you'll see like as people get bigger in these industries, they have PR teams that take care of that kind of stuff and give them a list of say, hey, this is what you can talk about. This is what you do not talk about. And after a certain level, a lot of it becomes very, very curated. Everything's not really. I feel like the more higher up you go, the less and less and less genuine stuff becomes. And
you're limited. You're like you said, you can only talk about certain things.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Soon as I have my own studio, because right now the type of podcaster I want to be is the guy that asks obviously these type of questions, but like the upfront, like, I heard your girl cheated on you. I want to ask little things like that. Obviously, I still want to keep the seriousness in, but the only reason why I don't is because I'm interviewing all these people in my house. No way am I going to ask you something that might piss you off and you know where I live.
Yeah, no, 100%. 100%.
I can't do that. But no, it's just, overall, bro, I love what you got going on. You know what I'm saying? The podcast, the filmmaking, and so on. And I know you're only scratching the surface. There's so much more to come. what are what are some of the things that like wasn't completed in 22 that you might want to try to get a hold of this year, if there is anything?
Yeah, our goal for the podcast was 50 episodes last year.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get 50.
How many did y'all get?
I think 40 something,
Oh,
30 something, 40 something. I think right before my injury. That's kind of what, like when the injury happened,
Oh,
it
so the
stopped.
injury is what stopped.
The injury was what stopped. Yeah, so that was one of them. My weight goals, I hit them, but then, I'm big on like working out and staying in shape and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I hit them, but then my injury happened.
So you gained or
I gained 22 pounds since my
Sheesh.
injury.
You just been eating good or what?
It's that it's not being able to move, not
So
being
you got
able
me
to
feeling
run.
guilty now. Sheesh.
I do love food. But not being able to move around like 6 weeks in bed, and then like, the foot injury, like not being able to run, not being able to like do what I was doing prior to,
Exactly.
put a dent in a lot of like. There's other goals that I had, professionally wise too. Like a lot of things happened in 22 that like kind of rocked kind of whatever goals I had. And so that's why I said like, 2023, my 2023 started in December, because there was like a lot of recalibrating and saying, okay, what are we going to do moving forward? What do we want to accomplish? And I don't think that deadlines are good for goals, but because it gives you that sense of urgency, but you don't stop. You don't just stop chasing after something because you didn't make the deadline, right? I think that at least in this industry that we're in, like I said, it's about completion. Whether if you miss the deadline, it's okay, as long as you complete it, right? And I don't like starting things that I can't finish, and that's why it's like, okay, well, you just figure it out. If this way that you were trying to go in didn't work, you just figure out another way, right? Problem is, people think everything's linear. Everybody thinks it's a straight line. It's not a straight line. It takes time to figure these things out. So yeah, my 2023, I think, I don't know, like 2020, 2021, 2022, like I felt like I feel like I was grinding. I feel like nobody works harder than me, and I feel like 2023 we'll start to see more opportunities pop up because of the work in 2022. That's why when people talk about, this year's my year, I say like, you gotta start working on next year, the year before, because that's when the success comes. It's not like, oh, okay, I'm gonna set this goal for 2023 on January 1st and I'm accomplish it. Nah, that's not how it goes. It's like you're already chipping away at things, and then you chipping away at them, and you're seeing that you're reaching to the finish line with certain things. And so that's what I feel like. That's how I feel about this year. But I feel like that about every year too, right?
I feel that. Well, that's basically all I got to ask you. You know what I'm saying? Before I wrap this all up, is there anything you want to ask me?
Yeah, man. I want to ask you. Actually, I was going to say that I do have some questions for you, actually. Where do you want to take this podcast thing?
Worldwide.
Worldwide?
Be known worldwide.
Yeah.
I want to be at a level like, obviously, interviewing artists, actresses, actors, like whatever it is. I want to talk to them, but I want to talk to like the people that go scuba diving, people that do parachuting. I want to touch all different levels. I don't want to touch the typical, oh, Chris Brown got into beef with this person, so let me be the first one to get Chris Brown. You know, like, yeah,
that's just cool. That's clickbait.
That'd be cool to have every once in a while, but I want to talk to the guys that got shot at 31 times and lived. Like, I want to talk to you. Like, I just want to hop into those little things. So that's why I feel like what I'm doing right now is like a good exercise for whenever that type of chance comes, But obviously, in the meantime, I'm loving every step of it. But to answer your question, worldwide, I want to be known from the western part of the world to the eastern part, even the northern, if anyone lives that far up north. I just want to be known all over our blue marble. You know what I'm saying?
And let me ask you this. What made you, you've invested a lot into your craft, okay? What made you want to do that? Like, what was the trigger that said, you know what, I'm doing this?
I was watching, so I spent the day. It was a random day. I was watching 85 South show.
Yep, I love that show.
It was 85 South show in Breakfast Club. and it's like 85 South Show has a stand-up part and a podcast interview, you know, and I love like these guys are just sitting down interviewing the type of people they watched when they was growing up and just talking shit. And then Charlemagne the God is doing the same, but he's blunt. He holds nothing back. And I'm literally just sitting there watching them like, wow, I'm a type of guy. I love to talk. I love to talk to people about what they do. Let me start a podcast. Literally, that was it. But now I'm learning there's a bad stigma behind like men with podcasts because they talk down on women. You know, like, yo, men should be doing this above women. That's why I notice whenever a lot of people ask me, or whenever a lot of women find out I have a podcast, they're like, oh, you're one of them. So they're quick. But I tell them quick. It's nothing like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, for your thing, it was just one random day I was watching Charlemagne the God and 85 South Show. Like, I just spent the whole day watching them, and it just literally just dawned on me just to start one. I bought this expensive ass computer, and the rest is history.
That was the best decision you ever made in your life. I tell people all the time.
I don't regret
you
it.
invest in some. I think Nip used to say it, like, invest in some technology, because that thing gives you access to everything. You want to edit a movie, you can do it. You want to edit a podcast, you want to create a podcast, you want to make a website, like, you can do everything from that little MacBook you got there. And like, for me, when I was in my first year in university, the first thing I did was I bought a MacBook. I didn't give a shit because I knew that, like, if I at least had a tool that can help me access information, create whatever it is, whatever came to my mind, I had access to it. And that is the best investment. You, like, 10 years from now, you're going to look back on this and you're like, I'm so glad I invested in a MacBook. Sir.
There has not been a day that has gone by that I haven't thought about, like, been so happy. The only thing that really, like, got me is when I went to Best Buy to buy this and the dude told me the price, I was almost getting ready to throw hands with him. Shit was like $3,200. It was, but again, you got to invest in yourself. You can't let money be the reason you don't invest in yourself. And it sucks how money is a lot of breaking point. A lot of people will make it or break it just because of how much something costs, no matter how much they want to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I made sure that wasn't the case. I saved up for a few months because the job I was working at was bi-weekly. I saved up for a few months. Not a few months. Because I had some in my savings, but I don't ever touch my savings. So I saved up, bought the computer, and I never looked back.
You never look back, bro.
I never
That's the
look
one
back.
thing when people ask me what should I invest in, get a computer that you can rely on, because once you have that, everything is limitless.
Exactly.
It's limitless. So you're ahead of the game, bro. Like, I wanted to give you your flowers, bro. Like,
thank you, bro.
I'm seeing you on your hustle, and the setup you have is dope. Like, you just remind me of me when I was starting this shit out. And, like, you'll go places, bro. And you're going to take this far. But just, like, stay true to the vision. And remember why you started. And don't only chase the fame. Like, really, really try to take up all the gems you learn on the way. Learn about people. Get better at your craft. And don't be shy to one day, like, say, you know what? I want to do more with this. Right? Like, this right now, this setup that you have is impressive already. You know what I'm saying? And just keep finding ways to make it bulletproof and make it more seamless, and then make it so that it's like clockwork. And then you never know, your podcast can turn into something bigger than just a podcast. But always think big, man. Like, don't let any limitations get in your way.
Yes, sir.
Tell your story. You never know who you might inspire.
Yo, I got beef with you though.
What's up?
You haven't had me on your podcast yet. What's going on?
Come through, man.
What's going on?
Come through, bro. Right now, our studio's being renovated.
Oh, no way.
So so we moved locations at one of our businesses since September, and we're building a studio in the business again. So as soon as it's done, that's kind of why we're on hiatus. Yeah. So as soon as it's done, you come through, bro.
I better be the first guest.
Come through, bro.
I'm ready.
Through. I got you.
Yeah, this is my last thing for real. Has anyone ever told you look like Dave East? I'm so dead.
That's a new one.
When I had your brother on, I told him, I'm like, bro, I'm not gonna lie to you. How is it that your brother looks like Dave East, you look like your brother, but you don't look like Dave East?
That's a new one, man. That's a new one. I never heard the Dave East one. I used to get in high school. Before I had a beard and stuff, I would get Trey songs, When I had like because I've had many phases of my hair.
Yeah.
You know, I used to get the weekend.
Damn.
I used to get. Who else I used to get?
You had niggas doing you like that?
Yeah, women too. Women would be telling me that
Damn.
all types of. Oh, you look like so and so. I said, no, I don't.
Bro, you want to know what I get? Before I had the locks, I had a buzz cut. You probably won't be able to see it, but I get Terry Crews.
Nah. That was a white person that said that.
It was a few white people.
Yeah, nah.
It was a few. And then, bro.
They just generalize. They'll just throw you into any black
like,
pool.
The thing is with white people, they say anything black. They say I look Somalian.
Oh, yeah.
I look Jamaican. I look Ghanaian. And then I tell them what I am.
You're Haitian, right?
Haitian.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm Haitian. They're like, you don't look like Kodak. All right.
Some people have told me, a white person's told me I look like Chris Brown, and that's where I'm like, I have to stop you right there.
You know what I'm saying? They just say anything black. So when a white person says I look Somali, I just, yeah, I'm Somali. How'd you know? I don't even bother to like, try to fix it up. But yo, I want to thank you for coming on. If it's one thing that I knew about you, especially from when I was talking to you at Legacy, is I knew you was gonna be dropping gems from the moment I was talking to you from Legacy. You know what I'm saying? But before I let you go, you should let the people know where to find you.
Yeah,
find your
absolutely. Tap in with us at the Gifted Gab. You can just Google us or find us on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple. The podcast is there. There's many conversations. And by the time this comes out, we'll be back in full effect. New studio, new space. For those that like film, Coaching While Black, it'll be out later this year on Telus, Optic TV. Damn. Also, our work with the Collective for Black Iranians. Tap in. We didn't talk about what's going on in Iran, but we've got everything up to date with things going on the ground in Iran. So tap in over there. And then me, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, AlwaysAFlex, Alex Escandarka, and yeah. Yes, sir. You know what I'm saying? Once again, I want to thank you for coming on. Thanks for having me, man.
You know what I'm
it's
saying?
A pleasure.
It's your boy Convo with Marlo.
Alex Escandarka.
And I'm out.